Alright guys, we're out here in the shop taking a look at this Stihl MS171. It's running a little funky, so I decided I'd pull the carb off, do a full clean, and walk you guys through how to do that step by step. Now, maybe yours stalls, maybe it won't start, maybe you're just having issues with the way it's running rough, maybe you need to change some air filters, maybe you need a new spark plug, maybe your spark arrestor's full. Those are all real simple things, but the one big one is cleaning that carburetor, especially if your filter is nasty. You've probably sucked in a bunch of junk. You should pull it off, give it a clean. Sometimes you have to get a new carburetor kit. Sometimes you have to get a new carburetor. I'll try to have parts and things like that listed below in the description in case you've got to get those things or you want to just get them ahead of time. But today we're going to go through step by step, cleaning that carburetor, breaking it down and putting it back together, and hopefully getting your unit running without costing you a bunch of money. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit that bell, hit all. Let's get started. All right, guys, I'm going to have links down below through Amazon for parts and tools. If you need something, check it out. So you're going to need an 8mm socket. You're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. And you're also going to need like a long neck T25 torque wrench, a little brake clean, and something to clean stuff in. Pop your cover off, pop your filter off, get those things out of the way. You're going to take that 8mm. There are 2 nuts right there. Pop those guys off. Once all's off, you'll need that torque bit, and you've got 3 screws in here that hold the back of that filter housing on, or the filter cover. It's the back side. Let's see if we can get you guys a little bit better shot. It's kind of tough to see. There's one on the bottom, top corner, top left, top right. So got to pull all 3 of those out in order to get to our carburetor. Once again, guys, I'll have links through Amazon down below. You guys shop those links. They help support the videos, the channel, and the work that I'm doing here. Also, recently set up memberships. I just got 1 tier. You guys can buy me a coffee. For those of you that join, I appreciate the support here on the channel, and thank you. Now that our cover's removed, time to look at our carburetor. All right, it's usually in there pretty good. Got to remove this linkage. Sometimes you got to fiddle around with it a little more than that. Sometimes they come out nice and easy. Don't bend this. Don't get this thing all bent up. Pain in the butt to get it where it needs to be if you do. But then you'll go in, you'll try to remove your carb, and what's going to be in the way is that gas line. Now, don't do what I did. As you see, I left fuel in the tank. Drain that tank. See how it's spat all over the place? Not a good idea. Sometimes you could just pop it like this, release pressure, which I should have done ahead of time, or just drain the fuel out completely. It's going to blast at you. You don't want that. But once you remove that fuel line, a little bit of fiddling around, that carburetor will come straight off. And there you go. Now you're ready to get into it. All right, with our carb removed, I'm grabbing that stainless steel dish and the red can of brake clean. And honestly, I'm just going to rinse the outside of this carburetor right off. I've had it happen before where small particles have fallen in after I've cleaned it or I've got it apart. So you know what? Let's just clean the outside real quick. Give it a rinse. Dump that. Wipe your pan out so it's fresh before you start doing your disassembly and things like that. So you know how it works. Use brake clean like somebody else bought it. You're good to go. Once you got it rinsed, grab your Phillips head screwdriver. And let's pull that center screw off the bottom. Once the screw's out, you should be able to pull this lower half off. And you got a seal and stuff in there. Sometimes you got to rinse that out, but you've got that screen. Sometimes that gets clogged up with the fine sawdust gets in there. You'll have to pop that out at some point. We'll get to it though. I like to flip it right over though. Get these 4 screws out of this side so we can split this in half. Once all your screws are out, this should just split. Now you can run into problems here if seals, diaphragms stick, things rip, things tear. You can try to find a carburetor kit or just replace the whole carburetor. Sometimes easier. Now, when I talk about that, my links are for aftermarket parts. If you want to do OEM, you'll have to go to your dealer, order it up, or see if they have it in stock. So I will have links to aftermarket parts below, again, through Amazon, along with tools, the cleaners, all that kind of stuff. So just letting you guys know, they're not OEM parts that I'm linking to. They're aftermarket parts. So I'm trying to salvage my diaphragm and seals here using a somewhat dull razor blade, scraping around to remove it. Got to have patience and got to be careful if you're trying to do this though. But if you can do it right, sometimes you can save that original diaphragm if it's not stiff. So if the diaphragm's stiff and doesn't move, needs to be replaced. If it's still very pliable and works up and down well, you're good to go. But as you can see, it sticks to the carburetor, it rips, and then when you put it back together, sometimes you don't get a good seal and things won't run right. So that's where, getting replacement parts, ahead of time isn't a bad idea. Same thing here. I like to remove this and rinse it all out inside because there's usually fine sawdust in here. But sometimes that seal sticks to this top cover and you end up with a mess. Just a little something to keep in mind. Now we're going to get into pulling this carb apart. I forgot, you're going to need a little flathead screwdriver as well because we got to pull the jet out of this thing. If you guys are still here, be sure to give me a like, hit subscribe, hit that bell, hit all, and leave a comment on how this video helped you out. I do appreciate it. Little simple things like that help grow the channel, and I do appreciate it. So right now we're working on trying to get this jet out. Sometimes these things are in there really, really tight, and if you mess them up, you might as well just get a new carburetor. Don't lose this. Right now we're getting into the stuff where if you lose parts, just forget it. Just buy a new one. Now some people will say, just buy a new one to begin with. Well, that's fine and dandy, and you totally can. I'll have some linked below. If you want an OEM, again, go to your dealer. But I like to do this stuff. I like to tinker. I like to pull it apart. I like to mess around, and there's plenty of people out there that like to do these things too or want to try it. And so hopefully this will help you out. Now, if you noticed how I cupped all of that in my hand, it's because there's a tiny spring and all these little parts. And sometimes when you undo that screw, the little spring that's not what I'm showing you will make everything go flying. And again, that's your guts to the carb, and they will go everywhere, and you'll have to get a new one if you can't find them. So just keep that in mind. If you guys have noticed, I like to lay out a fresh paper towel to put all my parts on, keeping everything together, nice, clean, tidy if possible. But once that's all out, you see all these holes, all these little jet spots, all these little cavities and things in here. Take that brake clean and blast through. Clean every little port out that you can find. Any little piece of debris that is left behind is going to make your saw run like crap. It has potential to make it run like crap. So go through, clean it out. I know you just spent $10, $12 on a can of brake clean. Pretend you didn't. Pretend someone else used it and clean it all out. So go through, again, it's really important to do this. You want to blast through all this stuff. So this screen on this side, that little screen right there, take a screwdriver and pull it out. I guess I forgot to do it in the video, but that way there you can get a good, fresh clean through everything. The other side of this is have some safety glasses on and watch your eyes because it's going to blast through all these little ports and holes, and chances are it's going to come back and hit you in the face. And you really don't want that, so don't be a mouth breather and wear some safety glasses. All right, once that's all cleaned out, I find it easier to do assembly with no gloves. So I get those out of the way. Usually have things, clean, dry, we're done with the brake clean. Now we're going to have to take that jet. Remember what side it goes in. Oh yeah, I forgot. We got to blast through it with brake clean. My bad. Leave your gloves on, take them off, whatever. Blast through that thing really good with brake clean though, because that's a lot of times where it gets clogged up right here in the jet. Okay, now hopefully we're good. But take that little guy, set it in there. Wow, amazing camera work there. Get it lined up, take your flathead, get that down in. Now go down nice and snug. Don't kill it, it's just brass. You don't want to bust stuff, all right? Just double check, make it nice, snug, tight, nothing crazy. Let's take a look here at the needle and this thing that it's all got to, I don't know all my technical parts are, guys. I should, but it is what it is. I try to prop the carb up a little bit. Sometimes this helps, sometimes it doesn't, because you want the little spring to stand straight up in the carburetor. When you go to assemble the little part that's in my hand, it will make life just a little bit easier. This is where, it's not always the best idea to have like 10 cups of coffee before you try to do this. Shaky hands are going to be irritating. So pop our spring in there. All right, now it's just resting in place. It's going to fall over. It's not going to stay there you know, perfectly. Let's get this little needle. Now this has a little spot on the top, so you can put what looks like the fork through it. And that forked area has a bubble that bubbles down. The bubble should bubble down into the top of the spring. Now do everything nice and slow. Things don't go perfect every time, but you get it all kind of lined up. In this case, we got to slide that little rod over so it fits. Boom. Now you got to keep your finger there, holding all of this in place. Or swap fingers, whatever. Get the screw that fits, pop that guy in, and tighten it down. Once again, guys, if this video helped you out, please feel free to drop a comment. Don't forget to give the video a like and hit subscribe for me. If you guys want to help support the videos that I'm doing, shop my links below through Amazon, and you can join the channel by hitting the join tab and buying me a coffee. If not, no worries. Videos are still free. Next up, let's grab that diaphragm, line it up if you're using the original. You should kind of be able to look at it and see what way it goes. Spin, spin. Which way does this go on, right? So if you look at the diaphragm, it has a little bit of a... See how that has a bubble on the carburetor? Bubbles up where that needle went down. And if you look at the used diaphragm, there's a little spot there that bubbles out from where that needle was. Just lining it back up the exact same way it was in case, we're working on this. We're like, geez, I forgot what way it went. You can line those little imperfections up and then you know right where it goes. Get that all set. Pop in your 4 screws. Let's grab the bottom side. The gasket should go on this cover. There's some little tabs to kind of help hold things in place. So, gasket. And then like this pump. It's always fun. Moves all over on you. Try to get these guys lined up really good though. You want to use the tabs to kind of hold it in place. Take your carb. There you go. Pop screw in and you're done. Time to reassemble. You can see which way that carb's facing. Sometimes you got to fiddle with it to get it on the studs there. The nice thing with these types of carburetors, you don't really have to worry about the throttle linkage. It kind of just rests, but you do have to worry about the choke side. But as you put that in, keep an eye as to where your gas line is in the gas neck on the carb. You got to make sure that neck on the carb slips into your gas line when you slide it in place. After that's all good, grab your linkage, fiddle around with the carb here, and try to get that linkage hooked back in place. Sometimes this can be a little bit of a pain. Sometimes some needle nose pliers can kind of help if you can't fit your hands in here. That linkage slips into the black choke lever down below, and then the top piece has to go up right there. Like I said, it can be a little bit of a pain on different models. Some are worse than others, but just have some patience. You've already came this far, So take your time and get it hooked back up. Like I said, sometimes the struggle can be real. Oh yeah, there it is. After that, I tend to hold the carburetor in place like so. Boom, at the top there. Go through, make sure everything looks good and everything's functioning as it should before I do the rest of the assembly. Looks good from here. So we got to move into putting on the back side of the airbox. Remember, that's going to take 3 of the T25 screws and then your 2 8mm nuts to get that bolted back on.
Hey guys, if this was a helpful video, hoping you get your MS211 up and running again, be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit that bell, hit all, leave a comment, let me know. And yeah, hope you have an awesome day. Thanks for watching.